Okay, so hello everyone. So welcome to Four Spaces Hong Kong Japan Media Art Exchange Forum 2.0 through the online live YouTube channel. So my name is Yuk. I'm the curator for the project, and today we are very happy to have all the participants present virtually. So we are all present virtually. Just to give everyone a kind of background of the project. So Four Spaces is a collaboration between Tokyo Arts and Space, Hong Kong Arts Center, as well as myself. And I will talk more about the idea of the project later on. Before I'm going to give the introduction to the project, I would like to introduce all the speakers to the online audience. So again, my name is Yuk-Yiu. I'm Yuk. I'm the curator for the project. And we have artists from Japan. So we have Nagata-san, somewhere in the grid. We have Ito-san, and also we have Tsuda-san. So these are our artists from Japan. So on this side, on this end, we have three artistic units with 4 people. So we have on my side, WARE, and also we have Tsz-Kwan, on the far end, and also Kwan, Tsz-Kwan. So these are the artists from Hong Kong. So we're also very happy to have Kondo Yuki, who is the program director of Tokyo Arts and Space with us. So, so on my left-hand side is Connie Lam, director of Hong Kong Arts Center. So we have all the speakers here today. So we will also have a Q&A session by the end of all the presentations. So please do stay and shoot us with questions if you have any. And then I will read out your questions and I will ask the individual artists respectively. Okay? So without further ado, I will start to give a very brief overview of the project, why we are here, and why we are doing this seminar. So, well, again, my name is Yuk. I'm the curator for this project called Four Spaces. It's really a first time to have this seminar in this current format. Because originally we planned to have our Japanese counterparts to come to Hong Kong to have a face-to-face exchange, but due to this very unusual circumstances, we cannot do it. So we are hosting this virtual seminar instead. So this is the background. So but perhaps in a twisted way, I think with this very unusual circumstance, I think it echoes the spirit and perhaps some of the preoccupations of the project Four Spaces, which I'll speak about later on. So Four Spaces is a media art exhibition as well as a cultural exchange project, a joint collaboration between Hong Kong Arts Center, TOKAS, as well as myself. So we invite 6 artists, well, 6 artistic units, to be more exact, 3 from Japan and 3 from Hong Kong to participate in the project. We held an exhibition in Tokyo last year around this time. I think we have an opening last year on the 12th of October at the Tokyo Arts and Space in Tokyo, and we followed and after that we have a talk, an artist talk in November in Tokyo as well. We also host an extended exhibition at the Hong Kong Arts Center a few weeks ago, which featured the works by Tsz-Kwan. So, so this is really a kind of a year-long project, a kind of a very extensive project. But I think today we're going to focus more specifically on the exhibition at TOKAS. So at the TOKAS exhibition, we feature works that include photography, animation, video installation, audio works, conceptual works, and even driverless vehicle, and which we will look at later on. So I think to give the online viewers a taste or a sense of the works as well as the exhibition, I think perhaps I will start to give you a very, very brief online virtual tour. You might take this tour as a Four Spaces, a kind of an instance of a class. So I'll show you guys a virtual tour right now. So here is the first floor of TOKAS, and once you enter, the venue, on the first floor, you will see the work of Nakata-san. So in this space, we have two sets of work by Nakata-san. One is a photographic collection called Post-Production, and at the same time, there is another set of work. Here, you see different objects, which is a collection of works called audio guide. So in this series of works, you have to kind of wear an audio guide in order to listen to the descriptions while you are looking at the objects. And I think it will create a kind of interesting, let's say, parallel world. You know, one is the one that you are experiencing, looking at, and also an audio descriptions of the work. If you go further in, okay, to the space, in this little dark room here, you will encounter the work by WARE, okay, which is an audiovisual installation on the urban landscape of Hong Kong. So in this work, you will see different, views of Hong Kong urban landscape. Okay, and this is a work by the Hong Kong artist duo, WARE. So I will not take the stairs, but since we are doing virtual and audiovisual installation so we jump one floor, and on this floor, we have works by two different artists. So here you see we have two video installation, two film installation done by Ito-san, which is a very interesting and meticulous installation done with miniature. Okay, so here you will see a set made with miniature toys, and at the same time you will see the scene being projected on the wall, while the device will move mechanically. So there is also mechanical movement in the installation. So this is another one. Okay, so here you will see a physical setup, okay, with miniatures, and also the projection of the set in real time. So if we go out a little bit, so in this room, which you can either experience the work from the outside here, you can peek inside the room, or if you like, you can actually crawl down and you can get inside the room, like, in Alice in the Wonderland, and you will, encounter the work by Stella So. And this work is an animated work. So here you can watch the animation in a small room or outside the room, so you can peep in. So this is the inside of the room, decorated with this Chinese writing paper. So on the third floor, we have two works, okay? One work by the Hong Kong artist, Tsz-Kwan, and it's a really interesting work that you can experience by sitting on this movable chair in the gallery. So on this floor, when you walk up to the third floor, and you can sit down on this, driverless vehicle, and this chair will move in the space, and it will give you a really strange journey, and you will, see different views, of Hong Kong subway stations. So while you are sitting, on this chair, perhaps you will also see the work by Tsz-Kwan that include two parts. One part is a video projection, consists of airport and also the scanning process of those airports. Also on this, four pillars and this pedestal, you will see, here is a little bit hard to see, but we can get a little bit closer. Okay, yes, okay. And you will see four different, 3D scanned sculptures. Okay, so there are 3D scanned and 3D printed, sculptures, which are, airports, different airports in the world, and you have four. You will see, four different airports here on this floor. So while you're riding on this chair, okay, you are, basically experiencing the kind of dialogue, between these two works. One by Tsz-Kwan, called Journey, and the other work called Solitary Cinema by Kwan. So this basically the setup and the layout of the exhibition. And feel free to go to the Hong Kong Arts Center website and you can take a look of the VR in more details. So this is basically a kind of overview of the exhibition. But now allow me to speak briefly about the concept, the curatorial concept of the project. So as the title Four Spaces suggests, there are two very simple but important key concepts in the show. One is space, the other is falsity. For space, of course, we can refer to be a location, a geographical place. If you take it into a more kind of abstract, let's say form, then perhaps space can also refer to a kind of opening, a void. I think also the word space, in my view, also suggests a sense of journey, a kind of spatial traversing. So for me, space is a really key concept in the exhibition. As you can see in the exhibitions, the artists work, quite differently, in terms of their treatment of space, from the concrete to the abstract. And I think, for example, with the work of Stella and WARE, they work exclusively with a geographical location. One is on Hong Kong urbanscape, one is on Wan Chai, which is a district in Hong Kong, where actually the art center is located. At the same time, with Kwan's work and also Michiko's work, for me, it's some kind of in-between space, what I would consider as non-place. So one is working with airports in the world, and one is working with subway stations. On the more perhaps abstract side, I think with Nakata-san's work, it has to do with more a kind of conceptual space. Whereas with Ito-san's work, it's more about cinematic space and also about a kind of psychological space. Last but not least, I think when you combine the idea of falsity with space, I think that is what I think the curatorial vision of this project is about. Well, by falsity, a lot of the time, we're referring to things that are untrue, incorrect, imprecise, substandard, bad, or perhaps fabricated. But in this particular context, I think I want to use the word false to mean a kind of alternate realities. So to put it simply, I think false space intends to create and explore parallel universe, or let's say alternate realities, as a mode of creative investigation. We want to engage the real, the truthful, and the physical via its double and its shadow. And I think these are the concept and context that inform the curatorial idea behind the show. So now I will pass on the time to, I think, Connie and Yuki, to talk more about the background and the initiation of the show. So I'll pass on the time.
Thank you, Rob. Once again, thank you, Yuk, for providing introductions of the four spaces. And once again, on behalf of the Hong Kong Art Centers, to welcome you all. Art Center is a multidisciplinary art organization and art venue. We have just celebrated 43 years. And so we have developed a close relationship with Yuk for our Evergreen Media Arts Awards and Festival IFVA. We have won the IFVA for more than 25 years. And it's an important new media arts award of the whole Asia, through which generations of filmmakers, video makers, animators, and new media artists are raised up. And some of the artists we meet today become as our speakers. And I think Yuk also involved in different ways with the IFVA Awards. Through the development of the IFVA, we have made lots of Asian contacts and cultivate in-depth working relationships. Cross-cultural and cross-disciplinary collaboration was in 2001 between Hong Kong and Australian dance company and new media artists. And we are very grateful that through Yuk, we have this, again, such a good collaboration with Tokyo Art Space. And we hope that this will be continuous flourishing. And now, Yuk, he is playing a very important role in the IFVA exhibition, new media exhibition. And Yuk, how many years you've been working with us for the festival, for the exhibitions? I think more than
10, more than 12.
Yes, I think roughly 10 years. And I think this is really important. It's like Yuk has a very strong interest in media arts and also echo with what Art Center is doing. So once he been working with Tokyo Art Space and he think that they have the similar curatorial directions as also met with Art Center. So he becomes the map maker and connected us together. And I think that this is a really good connections between Tokyo's Art Space and the Hong Kong Art Center. And last year, we have this wonderful four spaces exhibitions and the artists, creators, and we are all very excited. And we're so looking forward for another collaborations in the coming future. And it's a pity that this year, due to the COVID-19, we cannot invite the Japanese delegation to come to Hong Kong. But because of the technologies, we still can connect it to speaking with each other. We still see each other's face, but not physically. And I think it's just another four spaces, what we are experiencing now. So, and once again, on behalf of the Hong Kong Art Center, I would like to thank our sponsor, Economic Trade Office, Tokyo Office, Design Trust Fund, our collaborators, Tokyo Art Space, our guest creators, Yuk, as well as the participants, Japanese artists, Ito-san, Michiko-san, and Nagata-san. Last but not the least is the Hong Kong artists and art group Tsz-Kwan, Stella, WARE, as well as the Art Center curatorial team. And we sincerely hope that this forum will bring us together and also stir up new passions between Art Center, TOKAS, and all our participating artists to develop new initiatives in the future. And we are so looking forward for the coming collaboration. So, Yuk, thank you so much. Yes.
My pleasure.
First of all, I would like to say thank you for this opportunity, which can introduce a collaborative project, course spaces, and participated artists to the audience in Hong Kong. We are a team of Tokyo Arts and Space. We call TOKAS for short, which is a contemporary art center for supporting emerging artists and experimental creation, and also promoting international cultural exchange as an art center founded by Tokyo Metropolitan Government. TOKAS has been collaborating with international artists, curators, art centers, and cultural organizations to produce various programs, including exhibitions and project-based events for nearly 20 years for its opening. We had planned the exhibition of Horse Spaces by the flame of TOKAS project. TOKAS project is one of the programs which attempt a multicultural dialogue for sharing issues through the process of creating exhibition. The co-curator, Mr. IP Yuk-Yiu, is a key person for this project. He first joined in our open call exhibition to introduce game art in Hong Kong to us. Then he came back to join our residency program in following year to broaden and deepen his curatorial research. During his stay in Tokyo, we are building good relationship, and finally we have achieved this collaborative project together with Hong Kong Arts Center. When we had a meeting toward the exhibition, we came up with a common issue both Hong Kong and Tokyo has, the space. The three Japanese artists here today have a unique approach to explore the difference between physical and illusionistic spaces on their artwork. The exhibition hit a big success here. We had a large number of visitors and many exposure to media too. Unfortunately, we cannot meet together at this moment, but coming together, talking and chatting about art, getting to know each other, and becoming friends should be still important process for contemporary art, like the beginning of this project. I hope this forum will be a precious passing point for our continuous relationship with friends in Hong Kong, and will be a good opportunity for artists to get to know each other. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So perhaps now we can pass on the time to the individual artists to talk a bit more about their own works and practice. So may I first invite Nakata-san to perhaps speak about your work.
Hi. First of all, thank you, Hongo Art Center, for giving me such a wonderful opportunity to share and discuss ideas. When I first heard from Yuk about the exhibition, from the title "Four Spaces" had already been decided, I tried to build my exhibition plan from the concept of the title. Thinking about the concept of the whole exhibition by Yuk, I started to think about the relationship between the real space and the virtual space. And more specifically, what we usually think of as reality is constructed by something fictional and virtual. I have been working with digitally manipulated photographs, and I am showing 2 series of photographic works in this exhibition. Let me share my images. So this work was created using a feature in Photoshop called the spot filling dust tool, which is usually used to remove dust captured during shooting or elements that were unintentionally captured. This tool fills a selected area naturally by analyzing the image around the area and extracting textures from similar areas in the images to generate a pattern. In this work, this tool is used for the photograph which captures several objects and digital devices that display the picture of these objects at the same time. In this kind of photographs, the real objects and the photographic images are placed in the same picture, as you can see in the image on the iPhone, or image on MacBook, and also the object itself. So even if the texture of these objects are similar, the space in which they are placed may be different. Some may be in real space, other is in the space that the photograph represents. However, because computer treats images as a mere collection of pixels, they cannot distinguish real objects from the object displayed in a photograph. Therefore, the texture of real objects may be used to generate a texture of an object represented in photograph, or conversely, the texture of an object in the photograph may be used to generate a texture of an object in the real space. I believe that this work is not just generating visual illusions, but also depicts a real world where the fictional and the physical spaces are intermingled. This might be easy to understand if you think about the interpenetration of social networking service and the real world. My exhibition at Four Spaces consists of an installation of 7 different objects, including this piece, and an audio tour guide system about them. Through this installation, I aim to show the viewers the interpenetrating relationship between real and fiction, and at the same time, to create a situation where the viewing of the work itself is such a relationship. In other words, the visitor does not simply accept the object in front of him or her, but grasps them through the story presented by the audio guide, and experience a kind of appreciation that would never be experienced from the physical object on display alone. These are 7 of these objects, and these 2 of which are my works. The audio guides to my work is pretty much the same as my earlier explanation. I'd like to introduce one of them. The actual exhibition is narrated not by me, but by professional narrator. You can listen to it on YouTube, which is embedded in the virtual tool that you introduced earlier with real exhibition space. If you are interested, please check the virtual tool and listen to the explanation. For example, this is These are two images of black hole, and let me read out the text of audio guide for you. I started reading. Two images of black hole. One is an image of a black hole gargantua in Christopher Nolan's movie Interstellar in 2014, and the other is an image of a black hole at the center of the galaxy M87 that Event Horizon Telescope project successfully observed in April in 2019. The image of Gargantua, the black hole in Interstellar, was produced by British visual effects studio Double Negative under the supervision of theoretical physicist Tsz-Kwan. Based on Thorne's theory, the members of Double Negatives create a computer simulation of phenomena caused by black holes and visualize Gargantua. Artist Alan Warburton put the representation of black hole in the film theoretical photorealism, and pointed out that is a paradoxical image that is visually correct, even though it can never be observed by humans. On the other hand, the image of the black hole observed by the project of the Event Horizon Telescope is based on actual observation data. In fact, some media have reported that the project had success in photographing black holes. However, this expression by the media raises the question of what photography is. Because the whole of the Event Horizon Telescope project is to simulate a giant Earth-sized telescope by linking 8 telescopes on Earth, and the image of black hole is generated by combining the data observed by these telescopes. Thus, most of these objects are not visible to humans. Okay, this is the text audio guide. Others, for example, in tic-tac-toe and mathematical game, it is explained how one system can be represented as a game in two ways. This is a mathematical game. This is tic-tac-toe. This is based on the same system. And also, this is a copy of a map of the United States of Mexico, and the process of producing the fact of the existence of a non-existent island called Bermeja Island is shown here. The work is built roughly in this way, but it is driven by my critical thinking about the form of an exhibition generally. Elements such as audio guides and floor maps are incidental in an exhibition, but they play an important role in the viewer's appreciation of the work. I am interested in these incidental but important elements of the exhibition. In the current situation, it means under the influence of the COVID-19 pandemic, what I'm thinking about in my work is very related to the current social situation, because the interpretation of the physical and the virtual through these telecommunication technology that is taking place right now is going to accelerate. Well, what's more interesting to me is that these social conditions can transform the system of exhibitions and the museums. I think there is probably an interchangeable relationship between the core elements and the marginal ones, like audio guides and floor maps. For example, as has been the case in the past, there has probably never been a more important time to document exhibitions than now. Now I'm thinking about creating my works by analyzing these changing institutions and conventions. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for giving a more detailed descriptions about your works. I think it's a very kind of detailed descriptions. So now may I pass on the time to WARE, which also share the same flow with Takata-san.
First of all, I'd like to thank Hong Kong Art Center and TOKAS, and nice to see you again after 1 year. And we are WARE. Our work is called Mnemonic. Mnemonic is an immersive audio-visual installation which combines lighting, sound, and also video footage. And the main idea is come from different inspiration. One of them is the name Mnemonic. Mnemonic refers to a system that how we remember things by little hints or by little some details that makes you realize something in memories. And what this installation, the main thing is about the changes of a city, how we remember the cities by different details or like different little spots. In this installation, we're using different kind of footage. Some of them is like a recent footage, some of them is like many years ago. And this installation, we have the first edition in 2018 in IFEA Carnival, organized by Hong Kong Art Center, and which was an outdoor installation, also combined with lights, videos, and sound. And the second edition is last year exhibit in TOKAS. We transformed it into another structure that can exhibit an indoor area. So and we realized there's some similarity of two cities, Hong Kong and Tokyo, the vertical structure or vertical buildings in two cities. So we transform it into another structure while exhibiting in TOKAS. And another inspiration is come from my personal experience because one of my home, which my family lived in like a countryside of Hong Kong, is going to demolish. We will live there for 30 years and it's going to be gone wherever. And that makes me realize how changes of a city can be. Like it happens everywhere, probably not just because it's in Hong Kong, changing so fast, but it happened by nature disaster or other human activities. And what makes me realize is how we can remember it. Like instead of just photos or just videos, what else that we can have, how we can remember the places, the changes. And what I wanted to do, just instead of just images, more than sound, and also the lighting to enhance the immersive experience. And also another inspiration has come from some old movies. Like when you're watching old movies, especially like Hong Kong old movies, or realize that, recognize some places, like is the Kowloon in the 80s or like Hong Kong Island in the 90s. And it would be fun if I'm making a footage of places that's not familiar, but you couldn't recognize it. Like you couldn't recognize which part it is. So most of my footages, most of them are emptiness, without any human, and plain just landscape. So you can't really tell the time of when it is, when it was, and it combines into the footage of the installation. And yes, pretty much what I share about next. Thank you.
All right, so thanks for the explanation from WARE. So next, we'll go up one floor. We'll start with Stella's animation. So we're gonna invite Stella to talk about her piece. So Stella, time is yours.
Actually, the animation is about my final work in the university 20 years ago. And thank you for Hong Kong Art Center for inviting me to be one of the artists in this exhibition. This is some of the illustration of my animations. I draw a lot of sketch and illustration. Actually, it is just like I took a lot of pictures about Hong Kong. At that time, I want to find out what I'm interested because a lot of old buildings are very safe and they disappeared, and I find it's I find very sad. I want to find out some way to just kill myself So I like to take picture and I like to draw them, just like to restore the memory. This is the book cover. It is the building I draw. Actually, I draw a lot of things and bring it to be just like a building. And this is one of the main characters in the animation. It is just like brainstorm, and there's a subtext, and to just like draw something inside my mind. And the girl will go up, and then I draw a lot of just like different faces and how she grows up. And this is some process of making the animation. And this is some brainstorm and also combine together to just like and how I make the video. So actually this is some of my animation about Hong Kong. And actually the animation is how to say, it is the part of my just like the inside my mind. And since it's just like I hope Hong Kong to be like that. It is a very good Hong Kong in my imagination. And you can see I like to draw in this kind of old Chinese calligraphy paper. And how come it become a part of my animation? And I want to make it just like it's perfect on the paper, on this kind of neat paper. You can see it's just like my style, and finally it's a lot of contents inside the grid. And finally it's become just like I like to play the grid. The grid become just like a lot of layers. And the layers become space. The space becomes just like the distortion of space. So I like to try to treat and also to distort. So you can see this is the process of making the animation. So you can see some of my world in my illustration. And thank you for our art center to give me the experience, the chance to let me just like widen the possibility of the animation, because I like to draw and just like it's only 2D. But after I make the animation, just like transform 2D become 3D and also 4D. And at that time, at this time, they give me the room and with some just like installation, and I think it is a very good chance to just like expand or more exploration, just like animation. It is the more possibility of animation. Thank you.
Thank you, Stella. So next we'll pass it on to Ito-san. So Ito-san, can you talk about your very meticulous and cinematic installations?
Hello.
Hi.
I'm glad to see your face. And also I'm glad to finally I can participate in the talk event. So, and I'm sorry, I'm a little bit spaced out because, I stayed up overnight tonight, so, but I'm going to try. Well, I'm still thinking about the exhibition. It was really good. And also typhoon was really scary too. So, but the thing is, the false space. Well, when I participated exhibition, I had a sort of the sense from the word false space as kind of science fiction kind of interest, and also any other thing is alternative vision of looking at the reality. Well, that includes like some, let's say, Donald Trump point of view, like making reality or making the fact according to the fake news. It's also a different kind of alternative vision in his mind, or his brain. And I used to laugh at the kind of barbarian way, but after that, after exhibition, especially this year, because of the COVID-19, everything got really changed, right? And our ordinary life could be a false space. Well, we are living in a completely different way. Thank you, Tobias. Yeah. And this is the work. And when I remember the 9/11 in 2001 occurred, we thought about the World Trade Center tragedy. Well, this is that, that really reminded us of some panic, right? Was reachable. And in the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, we are talking about some movie like Outbreak. And we are talking actually the fact where the things going on really reminded us of something, right? But the picture became a reality now. And so, which means just like I said, ordinary life, we really didn't appreciate before. Maybe the first stage, right? Or first period. But meanwhile, the changing or flipping the reality is also our weapon to express the things. Just like a usage of the vision to, let's say, example, to oppose to something we don't trust or we are pressured. And sorry, the gallery is working. And so just like the Jan Schwankmeyer in Czech in 60s to 80s. So they Czech surrealists. They used to use a surrealist way of the expression, very different from the French original surrealism. They are using the different vision to convey their own thought differently. So anyway, nowadays I'm really thinking about what we tried in our exhibition. Could be also. So, and also the facing the reality in 2020. To see the Japanese society, especially youngsters, they started facing the positive side. Well, they don't really talk about the Olympic Games anymore, but they are talking about going to the bars or dancing or parties, and it's fun. It's fun, and they shouldn't forget about the fun of the ordinary life. But I think for artists, at least for myself, it's a time to face the reality really deeply. Well, it might be tragic, or it might be dark, or it might be cynical. But I think the facing the reality, the bitter reality, really give us the strength to use the vision or point of view, the our space to clear or maintain what we are facing to, or what we should go further. And now, actually, tomorrow is the beginning of opening my exhibition in Tokyo, and I try to make some kind of from the what I have been thinking about the exhibition.
Really how to
some kind of trick. Are people walking? That is what I've been doing after last year. That's it.
Okay. Well, thank you. I mean, it's interesting to see the before and after. Like, we are really interested in what is going on with your practices. Okay, so well, we'll go up to the third floor. So may I invite Tsuda-san, to talk about your work journey.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michiko Tsuda. I'm so happy to join this talk event since last year I wasn't in Tokyo, and then I already did the online installing, like online communication. Yeah, now everyone does that. Last year we did the online install, and thank you very much for making an effort to realize it. And I was so happy, but I wanted to join the talk last year, and only me is not physically meeting anyone else yet. Like, I just know TOKAS people and some artists in Tokyo. But this time, so I'm starting to talk about my work, and also started how I decided to show this work. Since originally, I think Yuk originally talked to me, like, think of other work to show in pulse space, which is an installation using mirrors and frames, and it's an installation more about the physical space, like using the mirror as reflecting in a site, and it's showing more subtle difference in the physical side. So, and I think for me the whole space is in everyone's mind. So everyone sees even though they are seeing the same thing, we have the whole space in mind. So my space in mind and your space in mind is different. And I was thinking in that way, and but when I think of whole space, I also interested in using or dealing with 3D technology, the more straight virtual space. And then when I talk about the idea, and then I made one work with collaboration with a French artist, Caroline Bernard, in 2012, and we talked about the work, that is journey, and it seems it will fit in the idea of whole space in an interesting way. So for me, this is very challenging to show this work, and I did a recreation of this work. This is me and Caroline Bernard. She is a French video artist, and we've been collaborating for 3 to 4 years, from 2008 until 2012, using webcam or the images in a camera which her mother found in the woods. And also we use a Google Street View and a sort of very light image in the internet. And this is one of the work from that project. And then, this is the image from last year's show. And this is the image from the TOKAS view, as Yuk introduced me. And then this time, I made 4 objects. And each object is made from an image shot in an airport. I will show. So I will show each images, and one is in Chicago, one is in Detroit, one is in Narita, and one is in Tokyo Arts and Space. And it seems very broken, and I will introduce how I made this object. And this is a shooting site in airport in Chicago, which is this one, the left in the up. And this is a different view. And you see the banister. And I put a camera on the banister with a walking, how do you say? I don't know how to say it in English, but the pedestrian, you don't need to walk. And most of the airport has. And I made a shooting this in each 2 airports. And made a traveling shot, and then made many stills from video, and generate 3D data from the stills, and then print it. And then in 2012, I made a physical object and made a traveling shot with the object, and then put the video together with the original video. And then this time I made a different one. After making 3D data, I printed and show the physical object that's printed. And then also I found it's interesting to see the image of 3D data itself. So I made an animation from 3D objects, and then I showed 2 different spaces. So that's the thing I did in technical way. And then firstly, for me, the airport is very unnatural space. Airport itself is an artificial and then very, how do you say, after you go out the gate, you go out the immigration gate, it's the space doesn't belong to any nationality. So it's a very, how do you say, physically it's a space, but it's already in a very different, how do you say, it has a different tension than other spaces. And also it doesn't have the nationality, so it becomes a general, you can say maybe general space. It also has invisible, a lot of rules in a space. So I was interested in making a distortion in the space, distortion from the image of the airport space. And then that's the thing I thought about behind the work. And also another idea I need to talk is another thing I need to talk when I decided to show this work in full space is when I heard of Kwan-san's work. He also has the traveling movement, like moving not up, down, like traveling right to left. Like in a smooth way, in a mechanical way. So I thought that it's interesting to show this work together with Kwan-san's work, and I hope that it works. Yes, and for me, airport is now very changed. Like in this animation, as you see, there is some people in animation, but it seems very like a, how do you say, dystopia, or I don't know, not like an actual space. It's more like a destroyed space and in animation. And then when we couldn't do this symposium in February because of COVID, I firstly thought about my work. The airport will become like this. Well, I hope not, but. So I think the whole space in it's the repeat. I think the whole space in everyone's mind, like everyone has the space in their mind, but it's not not same as others and not same as actual space. So you can say maybe everyone has whole space, and then the situation in COVID, I think it generates the difference of our space in mind.
Okay, thank you. I think that, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so you're right. I think now airport is kind of like this, I don't know, like bad space. We all want to go, but we cannot. So I think I will invite our last presenter today, Kwan, to talk about his moving chairs work. So Kwan.
Okay, thank you, Yuk. I make it quick. So this whole space, I explain a little bit of the space itself and also the work, how it works. So when the audience come over to this floor, and they will be invited to sit at this chair. And after they're ready, the chair will move slowly along this rail. And I made two videos here. One is on this corner, another one is at the other corner. So the audience have to one of the experience, they have to sit on this chair and following what I suggest, the way to see this video. The video itself is a shooting of the Hong Kong metro station. I shoot it at a time when it's almost closed. So basically it's empty space without human. Like Sam. I found this a lot of different work have a lot of dialogue, not only with the digital work. Of course, with digital work have I think have a very interesting synergy. I'm glad digital okay with my work around. I found my work is very intrusive. It's very intrusive. It's difficult to put with other work. I think for myself, I think it work very really fine. If they have no digital work put it in the middle, I don't think I would do it in that way. I would do it absolutely in different way. And also one of the little tricks is this chair will go backward a little bit in this moment. For this work, I have few different aspects we want to talk about. One more continuous study for myself is about this storytelling or narrative. Since a lot of people doing studying this of how we see the image, how we do the storytelling, but I also found interesting is what if the image itself physically is moving, and also what if you are the viewer is moving as well. So it might change the story, because even you showing the same image, but if they're physically different, that's completely different. So, and also that also bring another issue of where there's this few years we are talking about virtual exhibition a lot. Later we'll show another work I just did in the art center. And so when you sit on this chair, and also one of the issue is we are thinking about this kind of dictatorship. Like when you're sitting in a cinema, or when you are looking at something in our like really controlled way to make you looking at this one. And of course, we are also welcome the visitor to walk around this gallery area. But at the same time, there's if you want to see what I want them to see, you have to sit on this chair and following my rules, my own time to see what I want you to see. This is also one of the and in this version is just did in art center. It's in a rather big space for putting one work, but for this time I more on when we talk about this with Yuk and Bonnie, we are thinking this also a space we have tried to representing is my own psychological space. In Chinese, we call it dark side, 心理陰影, the shadow of your psychological mind. But I didn't see it in too negative. It's more like some space you didn't notice or you're not really aware. So you can see there's a different images. Some of them is a found object, abandoned object. For this little room, is like a campfire, and then there's some also abandoned vehicle and crane machine. And also we have an interesting arrangement for this show. Actually, I'm very happy only a few persons can get into the gallery. This is a very good excuse to do that. So it's only, the maximum is only 4 persons can get into the space at once. So I think it will be very different if they have a lot of people inside or only few audience inside. Because one of the topics we want to talk about is the person sitting on the chair, he or she is become part of the show. So you imagine if this pack of audience, and you are only one person sitting on this chair, and everybody looking at you, and then you will become a kind of like a performative element in the show.
All right, so all the artists have individually elaborate on their individual works. So perhaps I would use this time to kind of wrap things up a little bit first, and then we can go for some Q&A. I think we have a few questions. Well, but first of all, I would like to thank you, TOKAS, for initiating this project. And I'm very happy that they invite me to be a part of the project. And of course, always, I want to thank the Hong Kong Arts Center, my long-term collaborator and supporter in making things happen together. But of course, in the end, I would really like to thank all the participating artists. I knew some of them for a long time. For example, Kwan, WARE, and also Ito-san. I knew them personally for a long time. I also know about the works of the other artists. For example, Stella's work, Michiko's work, and even Nakata's work for a long time. And I'm very grateful that I finally got the chance to work with them. So. And I must admit that I think the show was a big success, on an artistic level. I don't know about the audience level. I have not done research on that, but I'm very happy about not just the show, but more, because one of the challenge of the show is this exchange element, right? Because part of the agenda of the exhibition is to try to create a kind of a synergy, a dialogue between Hong Kong and Japan. And I must say, I think we succeed in some way. For example, I think, as Kwan mentioned, I think on the 3rd floor, I think his work is normally very intrusive in a way. But I think we did it right. And thanks for Michiko's virtual permission. I think we work a lot, while we're setting up. So it's not new that we're working, online together. But I must say, the outcome was a really interesting dialogue. And also the other floor as well. I think Ito-san worked really well also with Stella's animation. And also on the ground floor, also I think Nakata's work and WARE's work in a very interesting way. So I must say, as a curator, as an artist curator, I'm very happy with the result. And I'm also very excited that we have so many events afterwards, the talk in November, and the extended exhibition, and also this seminar. And obviously, I'm sure this seminar is also very challenging and very difficult, because first of all, we cannot do it face to face, and we have to wear masks and speak to each other with this kind of mediated signal. We are, after all, separate, by quite a long geographical distance. But that said, I think we kind of, I think we should congratulate ourselves in kind of completing the project together. So thank you everyone for your hard work for the past year. So now may I open up some questions? I think we have received some questions from our viewers, and I have some questions myself. And it's funny, I think most of the questions, I guess understandably, have something to do with our current situation with confronting, or let's say co-living with the virus. I think a lot of the questions, a few questions, relate to that. So I'll just throw the questions, and if anyone would like to pick it up, feel free to just give your views on that. And I think one question is, and I will start with this question. I don't think it should only be targeted to the curator, but I think to all the artists. So the question is, how would the exhibition be different if the show happened today? So let's say, okay, we have the show not last year, but this year. So how would you think you approach the exhibition? Would it be different, or do you think, for the past year, I mean, did you have a different, let's say, idea in terms of how you're gonna interpret, the idea of floor space? Because right now, for me, I can share with you, in this year, I think the sense of falsity transformed a little bit for me. I think originally it was more about a kind of doubling, which I explained to many of you, right? This sense of falsity. But now I think for many different reasons, personal, social, political, I think now I kind of read the sense of force as a kind of metaphor of bad, right? Something bad, it's a bad space, it's a bad time. So that is my personal, let's say, change of mind in some way of interpreting the title. So now the question is, would that make a difference for you to exhibit in this exhibition? Let's say we did this show right now. Will you approach things differently? Or will it be the same? So that is one of the questions. So I'll throw the questions to all the artists. As a curator, I just explained my view. Perhaps I will focus more on the darker side of things, the bad side of things, perhaps. Because things are pretty bad, on a local level, on a global level.
If do it again, it probably, because right now the show I just did is under this situation. We've been like, it's very difficult actually. We're working with I think everybody, Art Center, Tobias and Gordon. We've been discussing like, should we open it or should we not open it? Should we open to public or like by private invitation? But after all, I think for me it's important to have somebody with us. It's not only virtually happening. It's not working for me at least. And also some audience also told me after seeing the show, and then she need to rethink about the virtual show. What is the meaning of the virtual show? What is the difference of this physicality of your passing some space and this some unique experience? What it is. And for me, I think I will be even more emphasized at this point of like, it couldn't be virtually happening. It have to be physical.
Interesting. Yeah, because I think maybe last year, if things are being presented virtual, it's almost like a different, that is the other, right? But now it's the other way around, right? The virtual or the immaterial is now the everyday life. So now it's almost the opposite. The physical becomes the other. So the material, the
majority,
exactly. They kind of flip the coin. How about Michiko? You talk about the airport. Now I think your airport could be even darker. I mean, I really want to go to the airport, but I don't know why. So, do you think you approach, the exhibition in a different way? If you did it, perhaps if you do it today, if the opening is today.
If the opening is today, I'm not sure. I think as an artist, I don't think I will react immediately in this situation. But I feel like I will have some idea affected by this situation in a few years or in a long span of time. Since I felt like everyone maybe felt like the private space becomes more public. Like I sometimes my cat comes behind me, or sometimes I see some friends' children through in web meetings, so that sort of the private becomes more. The intimate space becomes more public, and the public, how do you say? intrude into my private space sometimes. And that kind of that also affects to the physicality. Like I changed my dreams. Yeah, I felt after May, after April, maybe I remembered I changed a lot of my dreaming in night. So it happens to everyone, I think. But, I will think of maybe in a long span as a change. But this year, I think I'm interested. If today is opening day, I think it's interesting to show the same work as full space.
I think my work is is quite similar to what I was imagining, the emptiness, because right this time, everything looks familiar, but it feels so unfamiliar. For example, like when you go into different spots in the city, usually you got tourists or very crowded. Suddenly everything, it looks the same, but it feels so different. And I think it's also happened to Tokyo, right? There's many Hong Kong people right now. Yeah, so this kind of feelings that contradicted the familiar feeling. And also, another thing is, I don't think virtual exhibitions gonna work. And like, as I know, like after this year, like many exhibitions like canceled or they change it into a virtual version. And many of them is kind of like using a website. But in the website, it's gonna building a 3D space. Exactly what they wanted to build in the real world. And it's quite funny because people also get used to like the art exhibition is a 3D space. It's when you go to a website, they also want to be in the space. So it's quite interesting. Like people are taking for granted, you have to experience it in. So, but I really prefer like I can in the exhibition and see the artwork in person. And yeah.
But perhaps maybe kind of building on this question, and I think do you have a different view or do you have a different interpretation of floor space after, COVID-19, right? I mean, that is, I think, a more kind of conceptual question. So it's not just how we did the exhibition differently, virtual or physical, but somehow, in the past year, with this experience, with this kind of life-changing experience, did you have a slightly different interpretation of this very elusive work, floor spaces? As I said, we might, take it perhaps more, maybe not so much about, alternate realities, but perhaps about, even darker or worse reality. I mean, I'm just curious, more from a conceptual level, do you have this kind of a different interpretation of this concept of floor spaces? It does sound. I think you did kind of mention that a little bit, during your talk, right? Now it kind of, I think with the current time, I think it has this kind of inversion for you. So does it change the way you kind of approach this concept, or do you think, okay, I mean, it's still, stand as appropriate? Yeah.
Just like I said before, this COVID-19 circumstance for society, but this kind of fitness or alternative or other version or other, let's say, pattern of our society or daily life actually existed. But this COVID situation made it clear, really drastic way. And let's say even without the COVID stuff, let's say if you use a credit card, there's a different kind of the point of view of the hackers. Also, some merchandising companies or web market a different kind of approach of, of the action of what you're buying to the internet. So simply, I'm talking to you guys in the video chat happily, but I might die an hour from now by car accident. And there is also the different kind of let's say the chance of the danger or happiness we don't really realize, right? And nowadays, so that's why the piece I showed you a little bit earlier, the house with fire, that is also some kind of metaphor of what we observe ordinary life. But meanwhile, with TV news and videos, web videos made me really feel happy. Was like deers or bears, those wild animals showed up in the countryside of the Hokkaido or Japan, or wild monkey, because they don't have any food anymore, or because human society got a little bit changed, and that really affected them. Or in Europe, many deers showed up in the village, and running around midnight town, but nobody really caught it because people got really scared and staying in the house, right? So that means different vision of our society showed up again. And that really made me really happy because the core thing is just human matters, or maybe some dogs and the things, or some animals. But to think about it, if we find some kind of serious disease among the pigs or chickens or horse, what we do is we kill the millions right away for security reasons. We humans don't really do that for ourselves, right? But if we are like these kind of pigs or chickens, our society turned into like the Pierre Brousse planet waves, right? So, nowadays I watch or I see everything that way. So, and I wanted to put everything in at the same big dish.
Interesting, I think, interesting. Yeah, to kind of see beyond this kind of more human-centric perspective, right? Yeah, I think I get your point. Interesting. So, do artists have other comments, questions? And this is probably, well, it will be, I hope it is not the last chance. Yeah. So, but I think it will be perhaps a kind of a momentary dialogue, I think, in the sense that, okay, I think this might be a good chance to kind of wrap things up. Because I think among of all the works, I think one of the most, I would say, challenging floor will be on the ground floor. I think with WARE's work, which is a bit more, well, straightforward, not in a bad sense. It's more like, very clear. It's about Hong Kong. I mean, the sense of space is very clear. Whereas with Nakata-san, it's more conceptual, right? The sense of space you are playing with is more conceptual, right? As you are talking, kind of this alternate parallel realities, right? And I think, and I sometimes, I think, some audience might find it a little bit too disjointed. On the one hand, like once you enter into the venue, you are confronting with this more conceptual work, right? More kind of conceptually demanding work. And then you walk into a room which is more perceptual, more, about sensory, kind of experience. So I wonder, how do you guys see each other's work in, sharing one space, Because I think the other floors seems more, I would say, seamless or more echoing. Whereas I think the first floor is more a contrast. Yes, I would say more contrast. More sensory versus, the cerebral, kind of the more conceptual. So I'm just curious. Or maybe you're mad at the curator that you don't, okay, I really don't want to hear, but be on the first floor.
Maybe Nakata-san first?
Nakata-san, yeah.
when I first see the plan from the Yuk, maybe I found the image of the WARE's work, and I thought it's good to have a very, how can I say, contrast works shown at the beginning of the exhibition, because as all the works is different each others, and all the artists has a different point of view, so it's really good to show this exhibition has a, how can I say, very different approach. So I try to, I mainly make conceptual work in my career, but seeing the WARE's plan, I try to think more conceptual and more, how can I say, abstract, to make the work more like, more immaterial, and also more abstract and more conceptual.
So I think actually I feel like the contradiction of our work with Nakata-san work and our research space, because when on the ground floor, when first actually seeing Nakata-san's work, and actually after behind the small door, it becomes a totally dark place. It's kind of like a surprise, and because in your work is like you have to observe like details or like patiently, like seeing different details of different photos and components. And suddenly, like walking into the door, it becomes another space. The contradiction, actually, I quite like it. And we also will have, because we have totally different tools, like we're using more like media equipments, and also quite so different. And the lighting environment is so different. So it's kind of like a surprise and contradicted. So yeah.
I mean, it's quite contrasty. Like, I think Nakata-san space is really kind of white and bright, whereas WARE's is really kind of dark, which is, whereas the other floors are kind of similar in terms of the lighting, the formal arrangement. Yeah, so I'm glad the artists are happy, because, I think they represent slightly different, let's say, interpretations or take on the sense of space. So I think our time is kind of coming, to the end. So once again, I would like to, thank all the participating artists and all the other people who made this event happen. I hope this is only the beginning of a longer-term exchange. I really want to bring the exhibition to Hong Kong, perhaps because the works are really good, and it will be great, if we can introduce the works to the Hong Kong audience. So maybe we can have 4 spaces, 2, 3, 4. So well, thank you so much for your participation, and I hope we all have a good evening. So.
And then we hope that we will see each other next year.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Very promising. Yes. Next year. See you next year.
Yes. Okay. All right. So I think that's the end of it. Well, thank you so much for your kind attention. So bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.